Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In the past, I've talked a little bit about my relationship with sugar, how I've found how super sensitive I am to sugar, and I think it's one of the leading things that has caused me to have breakouts in the past. Now, that being said, I love sugar. I love sweets. When I was in college, I used to buy a pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream and a pack of M&Ms and pour the M&Ms into the ice cream and mix it together and eat the entire thing in one sitting. I'm not kidding. I love sugar. So how was I, as someone who really loves sugar, able to actually kick the habit and lead a basically sugar-free diet? Okay, so I want to break this down. I cannot understate how much I love candy and cookies and ice cream and dessert and things that contain sugar. However, once I started noting what a large impact they were having on my body, how I felt, I started to take some things into consideration. So one of the main things I was thinking about was how valuable is the sugar that I'm eating? If I have a cookie, how much joy is that giving me versus the upsetness and agony of dealing with a breakout on my face? I've talked about in the past, I have very acne prone skin. And so it seemed like every time I would eat a bunch of sugar, I would then get a breakout. Now the sugar tasted great, but was it worth the price of the breakout I was then receiving? Once I started to make this one-to-one correlation, really realizing okay, if I have sugar, I'm gonna get breakouts, I realized that if I just eliminate the sugar, then I'm also eliminating a lot of the breakouts. So it really became kind of a cost-benefit analysis. Is it worth it to decrease the sugar if it's then gonna decrease the breakouts? And the answer was a solid yes. There's that lovely mouth pleasure of eating ice cream or cookies or candy, but it's not worth the time and energy I spend thinking about and dealing with the downstream effects that sugar then has on my body. So when I could see sort of that direct correlation and really think about what is the pain and what is the pleasure that's going on in this scenario, the pain was a lot higher than the pleasure that I was receiving. Now, even though I knew this, I would often change things for a bit and then kind of end up slipping into old habits, right? It's really easy to hop on a diet and be super gung-ho about it, and then whatever, a couple of weeks or a month go by, and suddenly you're back doing the same things you were doing in the past. So what are some of the ways that I was actually able to kind of get past those hurdles and really stop eating sugar? Now, as of recording this video, it's been about 3 months since I've had any kind of sugary dessert sort of thing. I want to talk about how I got there and why I'm not craving dessert right now. So the first piece of it was thinking about why I was doing this, right? What is the actual reason why I'm cutting out sugar? Now, if you're just cutting out sugar from your diet because you think it's a good idea, or you have heard from this YouTube video that it's a good idea, that's not a really strong backstop that will hold you against the pile of cookies or candy or cake that you're inevitably going to run into, right? So if you kind of have a weak backstop, then the temptation of the immediate gratification of the food in front of you can oftentimes overtake your willpower in the moments. So I really thought through, why am I doing this? I really believe that cutting out sugar is going to lead to fewer breakouts and it's going to lead to me feeling better. Okay, that's my solid backstop. So anytime I'm faced with a situation, I can go, I'm not eating sugar because, and then give that very solid reason. The second thing that I did was actually told people that I wasn't eating sugar. I tend to believe that if I tell people the thing that I'm doing, then I'm not gonna do it, right? There's this idea that if you tell people things, then it basically makes your brain believe that you've actually done the thing, when in reality, the only thing you've done is told people about the thing. So if I tell people I'm doing this diet, or I tell people I'm not eating sugar, then for some reason that's gonna make me not eat sugar. Well, in reality, the opposite was true. If I told people that I wasn't eating sugar, then other people were aware that that's not something that I consumed, right? So I wasn't being offered the temptation of it nearly as much. It was just okay, that's a thing that exists, but not something that we know Mishak's gonna indulge in. If there was a plate of cookies, there wasn't that oh, come on, have one, if people knew, right? And people are pretty respectful. If you go, hey, I'm cutting out sugar, I'm doing it because I believe that I have a really strong adverse reaction to it, people are usually pretty chill and respectful about that, especially everyone that I've run into. But I think also people like to know the reason why. If you just say, hey, I'm not doing this thing, it's kind of ambiguous, but if you can say, hey, I'm not doing this thing because, and then give your reason, I think that it carries a lot more weight and substance, especially in regards to other people. I think with diets in particular, we're faced with all sorts of situations where food is being offered to us. And so letting other people know what your boundaries are just leads to fewer scenarios where you're in a situation where you have to let your willpower kind of take control. The third thing that I did was found something to cut the craving. So I don't know what it is for you. For me, I found that I really, really love super, super dark chocolate. So I buy from Aldi these 85% dark chocolate bars. They're 25 grams each. They only contain 3 grams of sugar in there. That's like the equivalent of 2 gummy bears, something like that, just for some perspective. And so very, very minimal sugar, but that chocolate flavor, for me at least, cuts out the craving of sugar. So if I have one of those in the afternoon or in the evening, I typically am not really tempted by other sweet things. And I want you to bear in mind, like, I am someone who absolutely has a sweet tooth. I love sugar. I love candy. I just could eat handfuls of gummy worms. Like, I know that sounds disgusting, but I like love candy. And having just that little bit of dark chocolate satisfies that urge within me to not reach for the cake or the cookies or the cupcakes when they're presented to me. So I think finding something that fills in that craving for you is really, really important. I found that dark chocolate worked for me. I've heard from different people that there are other kind of foods that kind of help fill in that craving for them. The final thing that I also started doing was eating really, really high quality rich foods. So our bodies crave sugar because in the wild, there weren't a lot of sugary things. And so when you came across something that was sugary, it was an indication it was like a super high concentration of calories, and you should try to eat as much of it as possible because you don't know when your next meal is gonna be. In the modern world, we have access to sugar all of the time. Because this is the case, we can just stuff ourselves full of sugar and our body doesn't have that mechanism to say, hey, turn this off, don't eat this. In fact, much of the food that we're eating is even engineered for us to eat as much of it as possible so that we'll have to buy more food. Makes sense, but is super destructive when it comes to your nutrition. What I found was that if I instead ate a lot of really, really high quality foods, I felt better. And I also didn't crave that sugar. So if I was eating a really, really high protein diet with a lot of vegetables and healthy carbs in it, I was not feeling the same need to eat a bunch of sugar. If I had a chicken breast and broccoli and rice, like that filled me up in a way that I wasn't then tempted by cookies or cupcakes or ice cream afterwards. So thinking about the quality of kind of the main ingredient foods that you're eating is super, super useful. What are you actually consuming? Like, what is the kind of quality of that food? Is it something that's really nutritionally dense? Or is it something that's not as nutritionally dense, maybe more carb heavy? I would think about the amount of protein that you're consuming as well. I try to eat between 100 and 200 grams of protein a day. I know it sounds like a lot, but consuming that level of protein just leaves me feeling satiated. When I finish eating a steak, I don't want to then eat ice cream. Like I'm set. Like my body feels full and it feels healthy. So eating that really high quality food has led to me not feeling the need to grab those faster, easier calories. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you found it useful. If you're trying to quit sugar, I wish you the absolute best of luck. It's a tough one, but I'm very confident you can get there. Please consider checking out some of the other videos on this channel and subscribing if you haven't already. I'll see you guys next time. All right, bye.